The film begins in the aftermath of the Second World War, amidst the ruins of Nazi Germany in the town of Falkenheim. The protagonist is a 10-year-old boy named Johannes, nicknamed Jojo, who has an imaginary friend in the form of Adolf Hitler. Despite his youth, Jojo struggles with tasks as simple as tying his shoelaces. Jojo is a fervent nationalist and zealot, thoroughly brainwashed by Nazi propaganda. His enthusiasm for serving his nation during the war led him to join Jungvolk, the youth division of the Hitler Youth, alongside his friend Yorkie. They spend an entire weekend at a camp led by Captain Klenzendorf, his deputy Freddie Finkel, and Fraulein Rom, who oversees the League of German Girls. The children are issued miniature uniforms and a ceremonial dagger before participating in a range of activities such as grenade practice, trench digging, map reading, and gas defense drills. However, these activities are primarily for the boys. The girls, on the other hand, are trained in first aid, housekeeping, and motherhood. Jojo excels in tasks like identifying Jews and book burning, but he becomes frightened during hand-to-hand combat training and retreats, drawing the attention of the older boys. When Jojo is challenged to kill a rabbit, he hesitates and fails, earning him the nickname Jojo Rabbit. Encouraged by his imaginary friend Hitler, he returns to camp and attempts to throw a grenade, but it rebounds and explodes near him. Jojo falls unconscious and wakes up days later with a limp and facial scars. His mother, Rosie, comforts him and reminds him of her presence. After dressing him in his uniform, Rosie confronts the demoted Klenzendorf at the Jungvik headquarters, insisting he find work for Jojo. Jojo is tasked with posting propaganda and delivering conscriptions, which he does enthusiastically. During one workday afternoon, he notices his mother gazing at a crowd of people who have been hanged in the town square. When Jojo inquires about their actions, she responds that they did what was within their power. Later, when he returns home and finds his mother absent, he becomes anxious upon hearing strange sounds from his sister's room. He decides to investigate and discovers an unusual mark on the floor that extends up the wall. He uses his knife to probe it, revealing a hidden section of the wall. Behind it is a crawl space filled with various items. To his astonishment, he finds a young girl named Elsa Kor at the end of this space. She follows him as he flees in terror, screaming and running around the house. Just as he is about to reach the front door, she intercepts him, pins him against the wall, and reveals that she has his dagger. She confesses that she is Jewish, but she is there because Rosie had invited her to take refuge in her house. Elsa warns Jojo that if he reveals her presence, she'll claim that he and Rosie aided her, which could lead to their deaths. After she retreats to her hideaway with his knife, Jojo rushes to his room to consult with his imaginary friend Hitler. Deciding that negotiation is the best approach, he arms himself with a kitchen knife and a pot for protection, then returns to his sister's room to suggest Elsa find a new place to live. However, he is startled once again when she unexpectedly appears behind him, seizes the kitchen knife, and expels him from the room. Jojo consults with his imaginary Hitler once more, and they conclude that he should make Elsa feel secure so she will lower her defenses. When Rosie returns home in the evening, Jojo mentions the noises he heard upstairs, but she dismisses them as the sounds of rats. After tucking Jojo into bed, Rosie visits Elsa, cautioning her to be more careful as she would have to prioritize her son if a situation arises. She also reminds Elsa that as long as there is at least one person still alive out there, they are losing. The next day, Jojo goes to the swimming pool for his leg's recovery. He observes Klenzendorf and Finkel at the pool, sitting closely and appearing fearful of Rosie. After Rosie leaves, Jojo approaches the men and inquires from Klenzendorf about the appropriate action if he were to discover a Jewish person. Klenzendorf advises him to alert the Gestapo, who would execute anyone who had assisted them. Jojo further questions how one could identify a Jewish person, to which Klenzendorf admits his ignorance and suggests that someone ought to write a book on the subject. Upon returning home, Jojo converses with Elsa. He proposes a truce. She can stay if she provides information about Jews for his book. Elsa agrees, describing Jews as ordinary people, but also as food-allergic, money-loving demons to trick him into bringing her food. Jojo realizes Elsa's plan to get food from him. When he asserts Aryan superiority and Jewish weakness, Elsa forcefully corrects him about Jewish strength. In the evening, Rosie returns, burns something in the fireplace, and celebrates the Allies' victories with wine and music. Jojo argues with her about her patriotism, but Rosie ends the conversation, instructing him to eat. Rosie doesn't eat, claiming she's not hungry, leading Jojo to suspect she's saving food for Elsa, and he decides to eat the leftovers. Missing his father, Rosie dons her husband's jacket and uses ash to create a beard, reprimanding Jojo in her husband's voice. She asks him to look after her, then turns up the music and dances with Jojo. The following day, Jojo provides Elsa with drawing materials to illustrate where Jews live and lay eggs. Elsa begins to draw but avoids questions about her family. She does share about her fiancé Nathan, who was with the resistance. The drawing she gives Jojo is of his head, indicating that's where Jews live. Jojo devises a plan and writes a fake breakup letter from Nathan to Elsa. Despite her disbelief, Elsa's hurt by the harsh words linked to her fiancé's name. Elsa retreats to her hideout, visibly upset. Jojo, feeling remorse, writes a new letter as Nathan, retracting the previous one and affirming his love. Elsa is grateful and requests more letters. They play a game of naming notable figures, with Elsa winning by mentioning Jesus. Later, Jojo and Rosie walk by the riverbank. Rosie reminisces about the area's past vibrancy and laments the politicization of children, advocating for play, tree climbing, and dancing as expressions of freedom. Jojo dismisses Rosie's views and rides off on his bike, with Rosie trailing behind. They encounter a truck of despondent soldiers returning home. Back home, Jojo's mood remains sour, so Elsa distracts him with fanciful tales about her people. He begins to enjoy Elsa's company, despite imaginary Hitler's disapproval. After Jojo sleeps, Rosie expresses to Elsa her joy in witnessing her grow into a woman, a chance she missed with her own daughter. The next day, Jojo visits the Jungvik headquarters and observes a tense interaction between Klenzendorf and Finkel. He shares his plan to write an expose on Jews, which they dismiss with laughter. Klenzendorf shows Jojo their flamboyant uniform designs and assigns him a task to collect scrap for the war. Out in the streets, Jojo, dressed as a robot, sees his mother distributing anti-Nazi flyers and encounters Yorkie, now a soldier. Yorkie's nonchalant reaction to Jojo's claim of capturing a Jew leaves Jojo pondering. Upon returning home, Jojo visits Elsa and presents her with some colored pencils he found. He also reminds her that a friendship between a Nazi and a Jew is illegal. Elsa counters by saying that he isn't truly a Nazi since he hasn't harmed her, but rather a lonely child seeking acceptance. They agree to hold their differing views. After noticing her own dirtiness, Elsa is allowed by Jojo to leave the room for a bath, and she even borrows clothes from his sister. As they are about to dine together, a knock on the door interrupts them. After Elsa retreats to her hiding place, Jojo opens the door to find a group of Gestapo officers, led by Hermann Diers, followed by Klenzendorf, who claims they had to deliver a pamphlet to Jojo, which seems like a pretext. The Gestapo immediately begins searching the house for any signs of suspicious activity, while Diers questions Jojo about his mother's constant absence and the missing knife from his uniform. Elsa appears, donning Inga's clothes and impersonating her. She explains that she took the knife due to her brother's annoyance, prompting the Gestapo to search her next. Diers, still suspicious, requests her identification. Elsa retrieves Inga's ID from a drawer and hands it to Klenzendorf, who quizzes her on her birthday. Elsa correctly guesses, and Klenzendorf allows her to leave. However, Diers intervenes upon discovering Jojo's revealing book. The Gestapo peruses it, laughing at the demonic illustrations of Jews. While Klenzendorf doesn't seem amused, Elsa is upset and feels betrayed when they reach a section where Jojo has detailed various ways Nathan could die. Finding no issues, the Gestapo departs, and Klenzendorf also leaves after returning Elsa's ID and Jojo's knife. Elsa realizes that the date on the documents differs from what she stated, indicating that Klenzendorf has been assisting them covertly. Jojo notes that no one is aware of Inga's death, suggesting that Elsa could impersonate her and live with them as usual. However, the content of the book still upsets Elsa, leading her to declare that she and Jojo cannot be friends. Jojo's imaginary Hitler berates him for attempting to befriend Elsa and for considering her a good person, urging him to straighten out his priorities. While out foraging for food, Jojo stumbles upon a devastating sight: Rosie hanged in the public square. Overwhelmed with grief, he clings to her legs, sobbing uncontrollably and futilely attempting to tie her shoe. After hours of staring at the body, he returns home, knife in hand, blaming Elsa for Rosie's death and intending to stab her. However, Elsa manages to stop his hand just in time, receiving only a scratch. As Jojo breaks down in tears again, Elsa, feeling compassion for him, comforts him. She reveals that she has always known Rosie to be a part of the resistance, though she doesn't know the specifics. She also shares that Jojo's father is fighting for the resistance, contrary to what Rosie had told Jojo, in order to spare him from distress. She reveals that her parents were sent to a concentration camp, leaving them with only each other for company. Jojo begins to forage for food in the city streets, observing the increasing devastation of the city each day. He and Elsa establish a daily routine, sharing meals and finding joy in the fictitious letters from Nathan that Jojo composes. One day, the city descends into chaos as the Allies launch an attack, capitalizing on Hitler's suicide. Jojo encounters Yorkie, who is armed with weapons because the army, in its desperation for soldiers, is deploying children. Jojo confides in Yorkie that the Jewish girl he discovered has become somewhat of a girlfriend to him, expressing his concern about the illegality of their relationship. However, Yorkie reassures him by stating that he has encountered Russians and Japanese, and they are far more intimidating than Jewish people. Rom is the next to find them, and after arming Yorkie with a gun, she provides Jojo with a uniform jacket to prevent him from being accidentally shot by their own side. A bomb detonates in the vicinity, leaving Jojo disoriented as he observes everyone, including children, the elderly, and even Klenzendorf and Finkel in their ostentatious attire, engaged in combat. Overwhelmed by fear, Jojo takes refuge in a deserted building until the conflict subsides. When the situation stabilizes, Jojo emerges to witness the Americans removing the Nazi flags and replacing them with their own, marking their triumph. Soviet soldiers are apprehending every Nazi they encounter, including Diertz and the rest of the Gestapo. Upon seeing Jojo's jacket, they detain him as well. Among the other captives, he encounters Klenzendorf, who reassures him that he is a good boy and advises him to look after his sister. Klenzendorf then removes Jojo's jacket and spits at him, labeling him a Jew, prompting the soldiers to release him. Jojo is forced to stand by as Klenzendorf is led away to face execution by a firing squad. On his journey home, he encounters Yorkie, who expresses his intention to visit his mother for some comfort. When Yorkie mentions that Jojo's girlfriend Elsa can now be liberated, Jojo is filled with sadness at the thought of her departure and hurries back to their residence. He chooses to deceive Elsa by claiming that Germany emerged victorious in the war, thereby preventing her from leaving. However, after perusing his book and coming across sketches of his mother and a caged rabbit, he feigns writing another letter from Nathan and presents it to her, outlining a plan to help her escape the city. Elsa then admits that Nathan passed away from tuberculosis the previous year, but she finds solace in the letters. Jojo confesses his romantic feelings for her, but acknowledges that she views him as a brother, a sentiment she concurs with. Regardless, he is determined to assist her in her escape. The figment of Hitler is disheartened by Jojo's actions and attempts to persuade him to reconsider, but Jojo resolutely confronts him and expels him from the house through a window. Elsa is reluctant to venture outside, but Jojo supports her until she manages to step through the door. Just then, a car bearing the American flag passes by, prompting Elsa to slap Jojo for deceiving her. The movie ends. Contemplating their next steps, they choose to dance in celebration of their newfound freedom. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.